the best part of every month, and that is the wrap-up time. So today, welcome to my November reading wrap-up. This month, I feel like I thought I read more than I did. I feel like I read a good amount. The books I was reading were like thicker, so I feel like I get a pass. Like, here's a little sneak peek of the books that I read. They're quite thick, right? Like, they're thicker besides this top one. So normally I'm reading like 10 books, and I think I only read like 6. 5? Oh, I read one that was Kindle Unlimited. I was like, I know I read another book. 6 books. So considering the fact that I was traveling, I had family visit me, and I still read these chunky books, I'm not feeling too mad about it. So my name is Maura. If you're new, if you're not, it means you've watched these before, so welcome back. I'm just gonna jump into it because I have a lot that I need to talk about. Even though I don't have a lot of books to talk about, I have a lot of notes, so we're gonna talk about this in full detail. The first book that I read, I'd actually been reading for a few months. I had basically been reading little bits, going to something else, coming back and reading little bits, and then coming back. And I did this because I started reading this series in June. You'll see what it is in just a second, but I started reading it in June and I fell in love with it, and I was like, what am I gonna do when I get to the point where I have no more books in the series to read? Like, that's just not gonna be good for me mentally. So I decided that I was gonna kind of take it easy and read them slowly, and also because it's fantasy and I want to be able to digest it all. I'm liking that I'm doing it that way because I still have quite a few books in the series left. Only thing is, you'll see what I mean. I may as well just hold it up right now. Here it is. Ooh. Sarah J Maas has a lot of books following this. I mean, ACOTAR, is it over yet? I don't think it is. She has Throne of Glass, Crescent City, and they all kind of go weave in and out of each other. So I want to read the rest of her universes. I don't want to finish this series. So I'm like waiting until everything's done. By the time I really get into it, everything's going to be done because I'm taking forever to get through this. But besides the point, my first book of November that I had finished was A Court of Mist and Fury, which is everybody's favorite in the ACOTAR series. I am not going to sit here and bore you with the premise of the story because everybody already knows what it is. Like I said, everybody says this is their favorite along with Court of Wings and Ruin, which I'm very nervous to read because everybody says it's heartbreaking. I really enjoyed this because I loved like the change of scenery here. I forgot to mention I gave it 5 stars. I love the change of scenery. It's much different than the first book in this series, and I feel like I got a whole new view of Rhysand, obviously, but also of Feyre, which was really cool. And the ending was crazy, so that's why I'm like really hesitant to read ACOWAR because I'm super scared. But this was the first book. I loved it. It was fun. Tabbed it up a little bit. I've been reading this since August and it's now December. The next book I read was another one that I was in the middle of. Why is everybody trying to contact me right now? I'm busy. Anyways, the next book I read, like I said, another one that I was in the middle of and I had just had to keep coming back to because I had other stuff going on. In my searching for a 5-star video after I'd been put in a reading slump for a few months, the only book that could bring me out of that was Magnolia Parks. I loved it. I devoured it. I gave it 5 stars without a doubt. I knew it was 5 stars. Like, it was perfect and I loved it. I know people would disagree because of the toxic relationships, but for me, I thought that was like really entertaining. But I just love the series. I gave this a 5 star. Here's my thing though, I don't know if I really believe that. I think, let me go through my notes because it's a lot here. First of all, like I said, a lot of people don't like this series because it's really toxic. Me, I think it's entertaining. Learn to differentiate between reality and fiction. This is fiction, okay? This is fiction. Don't take what they're doing in here and do this because it's crazy. Don't do it. Look at how much I tapped this. I can't. But it's entertaining, okay? It's fiction. It's supposed to be entertaining. It's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be a guidebook on how to live your life. Don't do this. What I really liked about this book was the way it was set up. I'm hoping this doesn't have anything spoiler worthy, but I talked about this in another video, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe that video is not out yet. But there's like little sub notes here in Daisy's point of view chapters. So I thought that was really interesting because I'd never seen something done like that before. The book follows Daisy and Christian, and here's where it gets messy, okay? I need to pull out my notes and I need you to understand and like maybe make a map, okay? Christian is in love with Magnolia. Magnolia is in love with BJ. BJ is in love with Magnolia. Christian is also in love with Daisy. Daisy is in love with Christian, but she's also in love with Romeo. You see why this is super chaotic and toxic? The reason I'm hesitant to see if this is a 5-star is because I gave Magnolia Parks 5-star, like I already said, and I was really confident about it. I really liked this. I feel like it's maybe a 4.5. But then I think about the way that, like, throughout the story, beginning to like almost the end, I would have been like 4.5. I was really entertained, really enjoyed it. Got to the ending hit me like a truck. and I was heartbroken, which isn't really a spoiler because you know when you're getting into these books that like it's going to rip you to shreds. You're either going to hate it because it's too toxic, or you're gonna love it because it's toxic, and then you're gonna be heartbroken. There's really no in between. So I really enjoyed it, got to the end and was distraught. And so I was like, it's a 5-star. Don't really know if I think it is still. It's definitely above a 4, like between a 4.5 and a 5, but I love this series. I think I prefer Magnolia and BJ, but I love Daisy and Christian, but I think I prefer Magnolia and BJ just because it gives me such Gossip Girl vibes, and like it gives me like the need for them to like confess everything, and I just love it. But I'm gonna say a 5, but I think maybe like 4.75. It gets too difficult to decipher. Okay, next I read a Kindle Unlimited book. I read The Game Plan by Michaela Smeltzer. I gave this 3.5 stars. This is another one where I'm like, is the content of the book a 3.5 stars, or was I just not liking the other books that I was reading for the video that I was reading this book for, that this book stuck out as one that I didn't despise? Does that make sense? You'll see that video's coming out in like 2 weeks, so you'll see. But this book is about hockey bad boy who has this huge thing with the media where the media is basically just against him, and everybody is like, oh, he's such a bad boy, he's getting involved in all this stuff, whatever. The FMC is Grace, who is a freshman in college. She's known to be like a really good girl. They don't really talk about why. She's just like the good girl, right? End up meeting when she's on a mission to go to Target, gets lost, and then Bennett is suddenly cruising by in his car, picks her up, and they go to Target together. I don't make the rules here. Clearly really safe, but whatever. Bennett ends up doing some training with the hockey team at Grace's college because he's injured, and they just end up spending a lot of time together there. Bennett's coach won't let him play hockey because he's like, you're injured and you also have a bad rep with the media, you're gonna make the team look bad, all this stuff. So Bennett wants to fake date Grace because she's such a good girl, that he thinks that dating her will mean that the media will think that he's a better guy, and she in trade wants to not only shop for him for clothes, but she also wants to have him make her feel okay being more reckless in her life. Does that make sense? I feel like I actually explained that pretty well. This book was cute. There was nothing crazy about it. It didn't really do much for me. It was entertaining. Would I say run to Kindle Unlimited and read it right now? Maybe not. If you stumbled upon it and wanted to read it, I would say it's not bad. It's a book. I think you could like it. This next one, highly anticipated, and some people are highly hating on this. The next book that I read was Iron Flame. I'm gonna start off and say that I gave this book 4 stars, and I feel content with that rating. I gave Fourth Wing a 5-star. I was really excited for this book. I was in LA when I got it, and I ran inside and found it sitting right at the front, right edges. I thought I was going to explode. Like, I was so excited to read this book. It's the second book in the Empyrean series following Fourth Wing. I don't want to say too much just in case people haven't read Fourth Wing yet and plan on doing that, because I don't want to spoil it, because I will say obviously this is the second book in the series, so same reason why I didn't really say much about Asimov. I don't want to say anything that could ruin the first book if people haven't finished that yet. I will say that this was really information heavy. Fourth Wing was really action packed because they were in training and it was everything with the dragons, so like you were getting information, but I felt like, because I mentioned this actually in my Fourth Wing video, but because Violet was trained to be a scribe, I felt like you were learning things with her because she was able to kind of inform people of why things were happening with her knowledge of being a scribe. So she could say, oh, this is happening and this is happening because of the history in this, and then start telling people about like why something's going on, so you as a reader were also following and like gaining that information. Whereas in here, I feel like we were expected to like know everything that was happening, and I was so confused. But I really liked it. I will say there were less dragons in here, which made me kind of upset because I love Fourth Wing and I love how it talks about the dragons and they're a huge prominent aspect. I understand why they weren't super focused in here. I still wish they were here more. And I will say, as much as I prefer Fourth Wing so far, I will say that I'm really excited for the rest of the series, but this book just didn't give me what Fourth Wing made me feel. I felt like I was left with a lot of unanswered questions. I don't know. I think I missed so much because there was so much that was unanswered, and then I closed the book and I was like, girl, that was not your fault. Unanswered questions, not your fault. But I did really like it still. Some people are hating on it, and I'm going to read the rest of the series because so far it's at a 9 out of 10. I feel good about it, but just preferred Fourth Wing, still loved this, still had fun reading it. Next, I read another new release, which was Checkin by Ali Hazelwood. I gave this 3.75 stars. This book was really cute, really sweet. I have only read one other Ali Hazelwood book, and that was The Love Hypothesis. I have Love Theoretically sitting over here, but I haven't read it yet. This book, really short, really sweet. It was like maybe 300 pages, 340 roughly. So really short, really floppy, so that was nice. This is her first, I'm pretty sure, first YA book, but it is YA. And this is a new release, like I said, following Mallory, who's a little chess prodigy, and then the sport caused her family to fall apart, and Nolan is the current world champion. She really wants to challenge him in chess, and then she ends up beating him, and then he ends up being like, girl, we need to train together because how are you beating me? As they spend more time together, they're just obviously growing a connection, which then turns into feelings and a relationship and all of that. I will say this book was really cute. I didn't love the chess setting. It was just different than something I'd read before, and I felt like it was more prominent than the romance. And I didn't mind that it was about chess, like I knew what I was getting into, but I just feel like I was reading a how to play chess book. It like wasn't much romance. And I will also say it felt slow burn, but I feel like it wasn't really slow burn. It just felt like it because YA books are usually really quick to just being like, I like you, now I'm in love with you, now let's get married. I felt like because this wasn't that same aspect, I felt like it was slow burn, which is good, but it wasn't slow burn. But I gave this 3.75 stars. And I feel like a lot of people are kind of sticking in that same range. I don't feel like my opinion is super like, this is the last book that I read in this month. I'm currently halfway through Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. Really liking it so far. It'll be the first book probably in my December wrap up. The last book that I read, another new release, The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy. You guys know I have all of the off-campus series sitting over here, the Briar U series. I love, oh, they're actually over there. I totally lied. I love the off-campus series. I loved the Briar U series. I love Elle Kennedy's books. I've read, what's that series called with Misfit and Rogue? I really liked that one as well. I don't know, I just really like her writing. It's nice because it's like easy to read. If I'm reading a lot of fantasy like I did this month, and by a lot of fantasy I just mean 2, but they were thick books, I felt like this was a good refresher. I really enjoyed this a lot. So this book is a spin-off of both the Off-Campus and Briar U series. It's 2 hockey series again that I loved, so I was really excited about this, but it's focusing on their children. Focusing on Gigi Graham, who is Hannah and Garrett's child. Luke Ryder, who is at a training camp hosted by Garrett. That's where Ryder and Gigi meet because the Graham Center is the new hockey arena. Briar U. So much happening here. You need to read those 2 series before you get into this. Don't think you can just hop in here because it's a lot. That's where they meet, and then years later Ryder's college ends up merging with Briar, and Garrett and Ryder kind of have a hard time because Ryder fights in games and he's kind of a troublemaker and he's causing scenes, and Ryder is currently co-captain with Gigi's ex-boyfriend Case. So in hopes of winning Garrett over and getting on his good side, he sets up a deal. The deal. Sound familiar? Are you guys getting this? Because I thought I was gonna die. He sets up a deal with Gigi and basically is like, let's team up. She wants him to kind of teach her more, I don't want to say like, oh, why do all these bookmarks keep falling out of my books? Okay. Gigi wants to practice hockey with Ryder because she wants to be the best of the best in the female hockey player world, and he wants to be on Garrett's good side so that he can have more opportunities playing hockey. And it's not because he's trying to like get in and like use Gigi to have Garrett's attention. It's because Garrett saw him being late to practice one day and thinks that this guy's unreliable, but Ryder like is never unreliable when it comes to hockey. He just kind of acts out a little bit on the ice. Generally has like good intentions with him becoming a good athlete. So he's like, I need you to help me like prove to your dad that I'm not a bad guy. Like, I swear I'm not. So that's where she comes in. They go to a gala together. There's a lot of tension. It was really entertaining. I really enjoyed this. I'm not sure. I gave this 4 stars. I'm not sure if I rated it so high because I love the story. I feel like I did, but I also just love the Off-Campus series and everything else that Elle Kennedy has written. So I feel like that's another reason why I rated it so high. It was so fun. There were so many cameos from all the other characters. Their kids are there, so that's really sweet. I will say this book was 500 pages and all of her other books are like 350 at most. So this felt really long. I don't feel like there was anything that was redundant and should have been cut out, but I will say it just was longer. Not saying if that was a good thing or a bad thing. I loved this book. I thought it was so cute, so fun. It was super nostalgic because I just missed all of those characters. So those were all the books that I read in November. I said I didn't read too many, but I feel like the ones that I read, I loved. I read thicker books this month, and I was also just busy this month. I feel good. I feel accomplished. That was everything I read. We have 1 more month left of this, and then it's 2024. But thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you guys when I see you.